Oh, I just thought I'd try a little bit of experimenting with this YouTube video. Like I know everybody seems to be making their own channels in the last few years. I don't think there's anything concrete about Mark 1 focuses, but I thought it's worth a punt. Just putting a few little short random videos out. Nothing fancy. Just what they call dirty videos. Um, I've owned this Ford Focus Mark 1 O2 plate, automatic, as you can see, for getting on for 10 years now, and she has never touched wood. Well, I can't touch any wood, actually. She has touched wood. She hasn't missed a beat at all. I've rarely had issues. Usually when I've messed about with them, that's usually when I've encountered issues. So I've ended up doing a lot of work to this car in the last few years. Spent God knows how much money on it, way more than what it's valued at. To be honest, I would say people would say the usual thing the garage says is, why the hell are you spending money on this? As a result of people having that kind of attitude towards these cars, they are literally coming off the roads in their herds. There was a post ages ago where someone literally got the figures from that particular website called How Many Left, and his predictions were quite stark. About 10,000 of them are coming off the roads every few months, approximately, which is about 700 a week, 750 a week, going to the scrapyard. Some are going to be sawned to be repaired and put back on the road, some are not, which is quite stark considering the amount of coming off the road and the amount in the scrapyards at the moment. That isn't always going to be the way. What you see in this car is actually most of this that you see, trim panels, radio, switch gear. I've actually messed about with this car. I messed about with this car a few years ago where I ended up painting a lot of stuff white, as you do. You know, a lot of Ford Focuses when they were getting, probably 5-6 years ago, even today, people are still mucking about with them, painting them, trying to tartan them up, because the interior is quite, it's grey. It's typical for its age, really, being a late 90s car. And I did a lot. Unfortunately, after a few years, after doing all this work, I just got bored, really bored. I will have to put some pictures up of what the car actually looked like back then in a future video. But that was white, this was white, this was typically white. People always paint this because it's just in the center. It's easy to just clip out and put a new one in, and even more so if you've bought a double din, which is a typical mod. This bit was done as well. I went through the trouble of doing that as well. These vents, these were painted as well. This was painted. When you start doing stuff like that, you just don't know when to stop. And I ended up doing all this, and after a few, and I did exterior panels as well, the door trims, the bumper trims, the front grille, and the wheels. I had some ST170 alloys, and I painted in white. I had them refurbed in white. Spent a lot of money. Last year or so, I've reversed all that, as you can see. The only evidence that the car was actually, because this car is a Panther Black, as I'll show you in a second, the white, diamond white paint was a contrast. The only evidence is this. And I've kept this it's a Lockwood dial kit, and it was about 20 quid when I bought it. Now it's like 35 quid for a set, and they're the best dials if you want to change your dials, because the standard Z-Tech dials they're just grey and they look a bit naff. These look fine in the interior it's in. It's not a sporty car. Tried to make it look a bit more sporty when I mucked around with it, but in general, I think I'm more comfortable now with how it looks now. I know people are going to say that's a bit boring, but the truth is the trend of where the Mark 1 scene is going is, I suspect originality will be worth more and will get more attention because the amount of them being modified, that have been modified, and unfortunately some of them to a point where they cannot be reversed. That's all good if it goes for any car. If you're modifying a car and you don't intend to sell the car on, you pretty much know you're the last owner. Fair enough. But if you think that that's not going to be the case in any manner, don't do things that you can't reverse, because no one's going to want to buy it, and they'll want to buy it for far less to reverse what you've done. What you think is good will certainly not be what other people think is attractive on these cars. Yeah, I do have a dehumidifier at the bottom. They are always useful. Top tip, actually, to have one of these in the winter. They're the cheap ones. They don't last very long. I mean, they don't last very long, and they slowly suck up the water. I mean, this one has been filling over the winter. But ever since I've put this in the car this winter, I've had less issues with the cluster packs. They tend to go. This is the original. It's never been repaired. Occasionally in the winter, you see you've got your mileometer. When the car's off, sometimes you'll just hear a flash of digits coming on the screen, like a sort of Pac-Man motion. Ever since I fitted this, it's got rid of the problem. Obviously a little bit of damp and moisture around the cluster is typical, and it can cause issues, and frequently does. Something to be aware of. But yeah, so I've had to reverse a lot of things I've done on the car. There's two things really that I haven't, and that's obviously the dial kit that I've kept, and the stainless steel catback exhaust. Rear silencer delete, but it's got a middle silencer because it'd be too loud otherwise. Obviously it's got a cat, but the back box, which looks a bit, I've always thought that it look a bit ugly because they kind of stick out on a Mark 1 quite badly. So it is literally sleeved. No, not sleeved. Well, it was originally. It's now welded to the back of the cat pipe, and I've just spent a lot of time sanding it down and cleaning it up. It's been on the car 4 years and it looks absolutely fantastic. It sounds great. It's just a little bit more sound, but not too much more. You only really notice the sound difference over 2,500 RPM, and that's not often you're driving, not around the city anyway, particularly not in an automatic. But apart from that, there is nothing visible that is different. This car came with heated leather seats, and obviously when it's a Z-Tech and you've got rear drums, you have this arrangement where this is a blank switch. This would be traction control on what they call it, I can't remember. It's not ESP, I think that's what they called it. Basic version of traction control uses all the ABS sensors to help reduce. I can't remember how it bloody works now. Honestly, I'm an idiot. But it uses the sensors to release the pressure to each wheel whenever required. Now with that button, obviously got your heated switches. That people get confused about that. They think, oh, why have you taken away traction control? Why put a blank switch? No, it was like that. It was like that the way I bought it, and that is how it would have been from the factory. It's a very rare combination, this car, because some of you may have noticed I haven't got air conditioning. So whoever bought this car, they bought it. They ordered heated leather seats, gearbox, automatic gearbox, no aircon. That's a very odd thing to do, but the engine bay is very simple. Most Mark 1s, from what I've seen, have got air conditioning, whether diesel or petrol. Only the CL poverty spec models definitely didn't get them, although I think you could order one as an option even on that spec. So very rarely do you get Focuses without air conditioning. What it does mean is that the pulley system is a bit, it's a bit weird on this car. I will show you that in a future video. But yeah, I've gone for originality. I haven't mucked about. This was sitting on the shelf. I got this on a scrapper quite a long time ago, and it works absolutely fine. You know, you've got you've got your steering wheel controls, which you lose if you don't have an adapter for aftermarket radios. Been going on for 10 minutes now, but yeah, I'm going to do some more videos on this, and generally they're only going to be short videos, and you may even see me working on this car. There is a previous video on the channel, unless I've deleted it, where I am removing the water pump from this car, and discovered that the garage who changed it on the last time it had a timing belt change put quite a bit of silicone seal around where it just wasn't necessary. It comes with a paper gasket and it shouldn't need any additional seal. Maybe some Hylamar, but not tons of black silicone. The rocker cover was exactly the same. In fact, there wasn't much left of the rocker cover gasket. They literally made their own gasket by silicone inside the cover, which wasn't ideal. So yeah, I am going to get out the car. I am going to show you quickly around the car, and then finish. So this is a Panther Black 3-door automatic, without air conditioning. Yes, it's not rare, but it's not common. It's certainly on the more rarer side of things when it comes to Mark 1s. Also, something you're going to notice when I get out is the wheels this car has, and I believe it was from the factory. I don't think these have been added. I've always had these wheels for the car. I'll show you in a second. Those of you who know what these are will know that these are the 16s. They are not common. They often go for about 50 quid a corner. I was getting stones in the tyres, and these tyres are Roadstone Eurovis Sport 04 tyres. They are the correct size of tyre, 205 50 16s. You don't want to get 55s, they look too tall, and as I say, this is a standard arch gap, believe it or not. These are the correct springs for this car. Apparently automatics have the springs are a little bit high on the automatics. I'm not sure why, regardless of spec, whether it's a Z-Tech or not. I'm going to leave it here and just let you look at the car.